everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Understanding the 4 Stages of Group Development when we're running workshops, when we're running facilitations, when we're running training sessions. Less applicable to a 30-minute conference speech or a 60-minute keynote presentation, but certainly applicable whenever you get a group of people together. Understanding group dynamics and the 4 stages of group development will help you as a trainer, as a presenter, as a facilitator, be more effective. Peter Jew's my name, public speaking trainer and coach, and my passion is helping you to confidently, effectively share your messages, have impact, make a difference to your communities and to your teams whenever you speak. Cast your mind back. You're now walking into a room of strangers for the first time. It might be a strategic planning session. It might be a community consultation forum for planning for a disability inclusion or an inclusion plan within your community. Maybe it's a workshop where you've been sent to upskill. In my workshop, you would be sent to upskill your public speaking. So cast your mind back. You walk into that room, you take a seat around the table. There might be 4 or 5 other people around your table. You may be the first to arrive. You may be one of the last to arrive. Many people walk into these situations with fear, with trepidation, with uncertainty. They really don't know what to expect, and they're a little bit shy. Are they going to be judged on what they say and what they do? Perhaps you're an introvert, you're quiet. You'd rather not say anything in a group of strangers. Maybe you need time to think and process what's going on, as opposed to someone who's going to be able to think straight away and contribute continuously. Or are you the person who talks all the time and doesn't keep quiet in a group discussion, in a workshop? So let's get started and let's look at the group dynamics, the group development stages, and how we as a trainer or a facilitator can help people get the most out of that workshop, get the most out of that training opportunity. And one of the ways to do that is understanding the 4 stages of group development when running a workshop. So how to participate in this short webinar. So how to participate, ask questions, take notes, think and apply to your own circumstances. So you're running a group of people, you're running a discussion, you're running a strategic planning session, you're doing some training on how to use a new software system. You've got 20 people in the room, 15 people in the room. How can you use this model of group development to be a better facilitator, to be a better trainer? I am recording this webinar, of course, so if you have any further questions or you want to review anything, the webinar recording is always available. All right. Most people have seen this before. It's the group development model from Tuckman. When we first walk into a room, a group of strangers, people we don't know, uncertain topic, it's called forming. We're a little bit uncertain, and as a facilitator, as a trainer, myself or you need to help the group form. And then you start to storm ideas, then things become more normalized. And the idea is at the end of the session, everyone is performing, resulting in good results, good outcomes, good next steps. Because if we run a facilitation or a workshop and the performing stage is that everything stays the same, nothing changes, then it's been literally a waste of time. So let me go through these stages one by one and what my role, what your role is when you're leading that facilitation, when you're leading that workshop, when you're running the training session. So let's start off with forming. And you'll also see this is another format, another representation of this same model. We go circular. On these axes, you've got the effectiveness of the team and the outcomes or the performance. And performance improves as the team becomes more formed and they move into that performing stage. So at forming, we focus on the group identity, the purpose, what we're in the room, what we hope to achieve. And my role is to be excited and display eagerness in being there. So in the forming stage, here's some things to consider. People are there for the first time. They don't necessarily know each other. They're not sure what the outcomes are going to be. Maybe they've been sent along by human resources, by their boss to be upskilled. And they think people are going to look at them as not being good in my workshops at public speaking. So my role as the facilitator or the trainer, I need to take the lead. I need to be visible. I need to facilitate introductions. Am I going to do an icebreaker? Am I going to do a round the room discussion? I need to create psychological safety early on. So if I ask everyone to introduce themselves and stand up and do a 5-minute public speaking exercise, at the beginning, people are going to shy away. People are going to be very nervous because I haven't led into that exercise. And people are relying on the facilitator. So I need to respond quickly. I need to let you know what's happening. Establish expectations. What we hope to achieve today. So at the end of this workshop, my aim is that each and every one of you in my public speaking workshops will walk out with more confidence and more skills around public speaking so you can be more effective, more influential in your conversations. What expectations are you going to set for the people in the room? The psychological safety. What rules are you going to put in place to make people feel safe? To help people contribute. Because if people don't feel safe, they won't contribute. They will hold back. And certainly one of the rules I say is that everything that happens in the room stays in the room. In your public speaking exercises today, I'm not going to report back to your manager. I'm not going to report back to human resources and say, oh, by the way, Peter's a shocker when it comes to public speaking. He's got no interpersonal communication skills. His non-verbal communication is diabolical. I'm not going to do that. I want you to speak freely and confidently. No silly ideas, no silly questions. So think about a workshop facilitation you may have coming up with a group of people in the room, 10, 15, 50. What are you going to do to help that group form quickly, to feel safe, to manage their expectations? With facilitating introductions, I think it's important that if we do an icebreaker or an introductory task, that it is directly related to the purpose of the workshop. So the icebreaker or the introductory task must be directly related to the purpose of the workshop, the seminar. I've been to workshops where they do an introductory icebreaker and I can see no relevance for what's coming up. For example, all right, let's all line up. Work out the distance you had to travel to get here today. If you live around the corner, you'd be closest. If you've driven 2 hours and 200 kilometers, you'd probably be down the end. And line up. So quick have a chat and you end up with a line and hopefully they've had a discussion. And then the facilitator moves into, right, everyone have a seat. We're going to talk about goal setting and objectives. And I'm thinking, what did that icebreaker have in relationship to the workshop we're going to go ahead? That's going to go ahead, the learning that we're going to undertake. So please ensure that your introductions, your icebreakers early on relate to what you're going to talk about, the purpose, and in fact add and lead into the purpose. My icebreaker, after making it safe, after sharing my own vulnerability, my own story, my own overcoming my fear and my stutter of public speaking. And when I notice everyone's breathing okay and they're quite relaxed, I invite people to give a 60-second introduction of themselves. Tell me a little bit about yourself. There's no hard or fast requirement. There's no restrictions on what you say or what you don't say. I'm not asking you to tell me about your partner, your children. Just tell me a little bit about yourself that you're happy to share with this group. Some people, 99% of times people will share something and occasionally someone will say, look, I'll pass. And that's part of my rules. Forming is such an important part of a group facilitation of a workshop, of that group dynamics. The next one is storming. So this is as the team effectiveness may drop a little bit, but performance capability, in other words, working on the goals or the objectives, working on the strategic plan, working on the community consultation, we're starting to get a little bit more outcomes. So what's my role in my workshop? What's your role as you facilitate, as you lead this workshop, this discussion? Your role is to encourage feedback, to encourage two-way discussion, to keep an eye on what's happening, to listen and provide feedback, to identify issues that you're seeing surfacing, that you're hearing, and to identify the roadblocks to moving forward. You'll hear those objections. And to facilitate the resolutions. Keep building trust and honour your commitments. So if you said you were going to do something, let me draw a little model that is the number one tool that I use to help people overcome their fear of public speaking. Let me share that with you when we move into the next section. So if I've made that commitment, I need to honour that. So we now formed, we know each other a little bit better, and we're now storming. So this is the brainstorming. This is the throwing anything out and the building the trust. Building trust. One of the rules around building the trust is that there's no silly ideas. And what you'd want is to capture all ideas non-judgmentally. One of the things that they do for introverts, and it's called a blended meeting. And I know that Amazon does this in their important meetings. And it helps to cater for the quiet person, the shy, the introvert, a little bit like myself. Send a list of things you would like to talk about ahead of the meeting. So the chairperson sends an email, an invite, a phone call to everyone who will be attending, each individual who will be attending that facilitation session, and ask each person to send along email in advance 3 key strategies for building the business, 3 key ideas for overcoming the problem while we're having this workshop, while we're having this facilitation, so that every person who comes along before they get to the meeting has tabled 3 points for discussion before they go to the meeting. So the chairperson can then look at all those and put them forward. Every idea gets discussed. Every idea has equal weight. Every idea has equal time. So the quiet, shy, introvert person, me, I don't have to say a thing. My 3 ideas each gets 5 minutes of discussion, 5 minutes of pros and cons. And if I want to add or if I want to justify, I can, or I can just sit back and those ideas will still be discussed. And at the end, they'll work out which are the 3 or 4 strongest ideas after considering all ideas equally. Not doing that means that I and other people will not contribute in the workshop, will not contribute at the facilitation session for fear of being judged, for fear of put forward a silly idea. But if everyone's put forward an idea, they're de-identified and they all have equal time, that creates a very builds great trust and a safe place to contribute. Storming. The next one is norming. This is where members are engaged, they're supportive, and they're developing cohesion. The storming, there's lack of cooperation, and there's still a bit of conflict, and there's objections. So norming, members are engaged, they're now supportive. That's if you, as a facilitator, as a trainer, have been able to help them form and storm well. We're now norming. So how can I contribute to a norming? Because they're engaged and supportive, my role is a little bit less. But I still need to recognise individual and team efforts. I still need to praise and put things forward. I need to provide learning opportunities. So I may invite people to present. I may put up some other models that I notice will support what they're saying. And that feedback loop needs to be continuous. Also, your role is to monitor the energy of the room. It's a half-day facilitation, half-day workshop. By now, people could be getting a little bit tired, a little bit worn out, a little bit fatigued. Do you need to take a break? Do you need to present some more content to help them conceptualize, to help them filter and work out how they're going to move forward? And the final section, of course, is performing. This is when the performance capability of the team is at the most, of that group is at the most. This is when, I guess, the rubber hits the ground and we start to get some outcomes. If we don't do the first 3 stages well, then what could happen is this curve will start to drop again and the effectiveness of the team will be lost. So the storming part is really about the ability to effectively produce as a team, produce outcomes, produce solutions, produce the strategic plan, produce the way forward for the organisation. As a facilitator, as a trainer, your role will be guiding from the side so they're performing. Now, one of the things with facilitation, so training, workshops, facilitation, two different things. Training, I'm generally a knowledge expert. Facilitating, I don't need to be a knowledge expert. People in the room have the expertise. I'm more of a process expert. So I want to create a safe environment. I want to set the rules, have clear outcomes that we're looking for, and let them form the decisions. As a trainer, I'm probably going to offer more advice and put models forward and let them try and understand and use the models. When they're in the performing stage, I'm going to step back and do a little bit more soft guiding from the stage. In my public speaking workshops, most people do 3 workshops during the day. The last workshop is putting it all together, and I kind of sit back and I invite other people to give that individual feedback because they've been coached, they've listened to me for most of the day, and they've also now got the skills to provide a bit of coaching and advice as each individual speaks. Please do celebrate success. One of the mistakes that happens in workshops and in facilitation is that we just move on. A group, a table, 5 people has a brilliant idea, comes up with a great solution. And we don't acknowledge that. At the end of my workshops, I tell people to go home and to reward themselves. They've stepped way outside their comfort zone. They've stood up and spoken 3 times in front of a group of strangers or sometimes a group of colleagues, and they felt their fear. Go home, reward yourself. Encourage collaboration. So if you've got a group of people here, 2 different tables, and they're working on different problems, feel free to encourage them to swap over and have a chat. The collective wisdom in the room is greater than the room of any individual, and enable them to make decisions and avoid the but and the however when you're empowering them in their decision making. How does that go? Yes, that's a great idea, but I think we should do it this way. Yeah, I like the way you're thinking, but I think this is a better way of doing it. And the other one is, of course, however. I like what you're thinking. However, how about this way? I like that list you've come up with. However, I think you're missing a couple of things. Please be aware that the but and the however negate, reduce what the person's just said. And my wife, Violet, who specialises in giving feedback, would say yes and. Yes, that's a great idea. And have you considered that we might try it this way as well? That's a great idea. And we could also look at this. That's a great idea, but I think we should look at this. So please enable collaborative decision-making and support a language that enables everyone to contribute and feel safe. So that's the simple group development stage, forming. I've never been with this group of people. This is really scary. What's expected of me? Norming. Okay, feeling okay. Storming, right, let's really splatter out the ideas. Let's do the brainstorming, let's do the verbal dumps, and then let's perform. Summary of what we've just spoken about. Forming, storming, norming, performing. Your role, forming is the first bit. Take the lead, be visible, facilitate introductions, Storming, encourage feedback, deal with the roadblocks, honour your commitments, keep building trust. Norming, start to reward and recognise individuals, provide learning opportunities, allow them to stand up and give feedback, monitor the energy of the room. It's, been going for a while now. And finally, performing, step back a little bit, guide them, encourage, celebrate success, and definitely capture the outcomes, the next steps, what now after that workshop, after that facilitation process. Because if there is no next step, if there is no what now, if there's no action plan, then the whole process has been a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. What's coming up? Webinars for November. How to shine when public speaking. I've looked at a lot of public speakers. I attend conferences, I speak at conferences, and I'm a conference seminar junkie. And I've distilled 6 secrets to those people that I notice do really, really well, and those that are also run in terms of the public speaking. One of the ways to shine is to do remarkable preparation. So the second webinar is 5 things to do before every presentation, which of course is your preparation. 2 webinars, 9th of November, 6 secrets to shine. 23rd of November, 5 things to do to get ready to prepare before every presentation. This is stuff you've done before you get on stage. I'm back doing a few public workshops. I've just come back from Mildura, which was lovely to be there. The Murray River was rising. Everything was okay at the time. I've got 2 workshops in Perth in December, winning presentation skills and thinking off the cuff, and a workshop in Port Hedland in November and one in February 2023. I'm open to do further public workshops. You know how to contact me if you've got any further questions. So remember, when you're in charge of a group of people, when you're facilitating training, running a workshop, and a group of people work in, it's quite scary for some of them. Some people have got fixed ideas. Some are afraid to share their ideas. Some are going to be overpowering. Some are going to be introverts. Use that group dynamic development model and the different roles you can do to help them move along, because ultimately it is the performing, it is the outcomes that come out of your facilitation that matter. My name's Peter Dew, public speaking trainer and coach. Good luck in your public speaking journey and in your facilitation and workshop skills.